Got a question for you, bro.
What is it?
After you die, what happens?
Well, your brain shuts off and you go into purgatory.
What about your soul?
There's no soul, it's just your conscious.
You say you're right. You say you die, and that happens. That'd be neat. But what if you're wrong? What if you die, you wake up in hell with no escape? Wouldn't that be tragic?
It would be horrendous and I'll be proven wrong and I'll be upset that I was wrong.
Well, that'd be the ultimate gamble, because once you're there forever. Wouldn't that be terrible?
Well, no, because I can escape it because I'm not human, so.
Doesn't have to be that way, The Bible tells you how to go to heaven. You ever heard that?
Yes, Genesis 4, yeah.
What do you remember? How you get to heaven?
Through absolution,
Yeah, how does it work?
forgive all of their sins.
If God asked you, why should I let you into heaven, what would you say?
You have to prove first that God exists.
You would ask that. You would say to God, you have to prove that you exist.
Yeah, because just an entity that's talking to you, mate. I need to have substantial proof.
Well, I can give you some proof if you'd like.
You can actually prove it, can you?
Yeah, let me ask you this. The house that you live in, who built it?
Well, I wish I lived in a house, but I don't. But I would say other persons.
Yeah, they got the stuff together, they planned it out, they built it. Did the house make itself?
No, not at all, because you need an intention to build things.
Yeah,
It
you're
can't
right.
make
It was
itself.
it was pretty complex, I imagine, to put it together and make it work.
It's
Now,
a bit of a leap, that is.
now look at your finger. You have a fingerprint. That's only unique to you in the entire world. Your voice is only unique to you in the entire world. Your DNA is only unique to you in the entire world throughout all of history. You are way more complex than any house. And you're telling me that you just came about by chance?
Well, no, because genetics, like you were conceived in the womb and your DNA combined with the father and the mother, it created an individual that was unique and purposeful.
Yes, but the human beings, they had a blueprint. They were created in a certain way for all of that to work together. It didn't just happen
Yeah.
randomly. Uh,
No, the genome, the basic template, I agree with that, but at the
there
end
has
of the
to
day,
be
there's
there has to be an intelligence behind it, a designer for the genome to work. The mathematics, everything has to work perfectly.
yeah, it's called science. It's like DNA. It programs the child to look how it looks and sound how it looks. I mean, I'm not trying to dispute your beliefs, and I hope whatever you believe in gives you comfort. I'm not trying to dispel
Are
that.
you starting to get
I'm willing to
uncomfortable
listen.
now?
Pardon?
Are you starting to become uncomfortable now?
No, not at all. I'm willing to discuss anything. I'm all about the science, but I will never put down someone's beliefs. If it gives you hope and happiness, then I will never disparage that.
Well, you
That's
sound like
cruel.
you sound like a smart guy. Where do you think that the world came from? How did we get here?
So I would love to believe in faith and something that gives me hope, but I am about the science and the Big Bang and the the molecules came together and the solidification of the planet and the Earth came about, and then genetics and DNA and creatures and all that stuff.
Are you a scientist?
I'm not. No, I just read a lot. I've got an IQ of 132.
Well, there's a few things that you have to have in order for science to work. You know?
What's that?
You have to engage in experimentation, right?
Yes, agreed.
You have to have five senses that work reliably, right?
Well, scientifically six, but yes, agreed. Yeah.
You have to believe in the principle of induction. You remember that one?
Yes, yes.
You have to believe that there's uniformity in nature. You remember that one?
Well, it's uniformity with Yeah, okay, yeah, stretch, but okay, agreed,
You're
yes.
looking for some kind of patterns. You're looking for the past to have a bearing on the present and the future. All those things are just kind of assumptions that you have to even perform scientific experiments.
For some basis, yes, agreed, yes.
All those things have to be assumed to some kind of degree to even be able to do any science.
Okay, and your point being, sir?
So if you're an atheist, there's no real way to prove that your senses are working properly.
Yeah, but you can't prove that there is an entity that is above all of us.
I'm just talking about science right now, but I can talk about that if you want to.
No, I mean, you went down the lane of if you're science, then you have to prove there's nothing there. But it's in contrast to retrospective is you have to prove also that there is something if you believe that. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be negative. I would love for there
I'm
to be something more than just this scientific existence.
I'm building my
But it's
case
very
slow.
difficult.
I'm building the case slowly. I'm just trying to show you that even in order to do science, you have to have a couple of assumptions that work in the first place.
Yeah, basic comparison, agreed.
So there's no way to prove that your senses are even working properly if you're an atheist. There's no way that you don't even to assume that the universe has any kind of order to it is a problem.
Yeah, you're,
Because
yeah,
it's
you're based on the fact that the universe has an order.
right.
Chaos theory. Yeah,
Because
you
that's
can't
how the
assume that.
principle that's what the principle of induction and uniformity of nature is all about. You're looking for patterns and order and having some kind of bearing. But if atheism is true and everything is random and chaotic, none of that would even matter, would it?
Well, it would because you need to have some kind of order in chaos. Otherwise, you can't perform. You can't exist. You just won't accept it. You're just like,
So what is it? Order or chaos? Which one is important? See, if you have an atheistic worldview, everything comes from chaos. You would not even assume order at all.
you would gain order from chaos. You'd have to accept that there is a principality, there is an existence, there is a
Has
linear
order
line.
has order ever been observed to come out of chaos? Like from an explosion, you get like a complex, whatever.
No, it has, yes, because if you're going to go along the Big Bang theory, then it's chaos, explosion, timeline, existence.
But there's a huge
It's a linear
assumption.
line.
There's a huge assumption that order comes out of chaos, but that's never been observed. It's the opposite. Chaos equals more chaos. Like if you have an explosion, if you blow up a house or something, you don't get more order, you get more chaos.
No, chaos doesn't come from chaos. No, the chaos theory does not mean that from chaos comes chaos. From chaos comes absolution, acceptance, guidance, lines. If a
Yeah,
house blows up,
those are concepts, so I'm talking about science.
yeah, but science means it's a catalyst. If a house blows up, it blows up because of what was the catalyst? Was it gas? Was it a bomb? Or was it a person? At the end of it, once it's blown up, what comes from that? Does it come wreckage? Does it come loss? Does it come purpose? Does it come meaning?
Yeah, that's the whole issue with the Big Bang is you have this concept of everything basically coming out of nothing. And of course, the problem is the first cause, what causes it. That's a
That's what I mean. You
huge.
said it comes from nothing. The Big Bang Theory, the absolution of it does not mean it comes from nothing.
Well,
It
there
comes
has
from
to be
something.
some kind of
Well,
origin for the Big Bang, right?
yeah, so the universe is constantly expanding, contracting.
Uh
At the
huh.
moment, it's expanding, and then in about maybe every 250, every 300 years, it contracts as well.
Right.
That's why we're stuck with inside the Milky Way because we're contracting all the time and then expanding.
Oh, I agree
There's,
with you
I would,
completely. I'm just saying there needs to be an origin for that. It has to originate from somewhere. There has to be a purpose for the explosion, where it comes from, all of that stuff.
what do you believe the origins be?
Well, there's four different origins for the universe, main theories, but that one that you hold to, I'm just pointing out the problems to it. Here's what I believe. I believe like the Bible says. The Bible says in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earths. So God is a being that's literally outside of time, space, and matter. He created time, space, and matter. He's a spirit being. He's outside of those things. We are inside of those things. That's all that we know, time, space, and matter. We can't even comprehend outside of that. So you have to have something outside of time, space, and matter to initiate the process, to become the first cause, so to say.
So what brought God into being?
God is outside of time, space, and matter. He's eternal and pre-existent. So time does not apply to him. Does that make sense?
It does, but from what you're saying, though, if God is an entity that can be outside of that perception, did he create those perceptions, or is he absolved from outside of that?
Of course, that's what the Bible says. He's outside of time, space, and matter. He created everything that we know inside of that.
So what created him?
That's asking if time applies to God, and it doesn't. Because he's outside of time.
Okay, so before time and relativity and existence and all that, God was an entity with all this omnipotence and power, and he created that. But from what origin did he come from? If he,
you're trying to describe God in terms outside of describable terms, so to say. You're trying basically to put God. You're trying to put God into a box.
No, I'm not trying to definitize him at all.
Let me explain it to you this way. Maybe this will help you. See, God, he has to be supernatural in nature because he created time and space. Supernatural means outside of nature. He created those things. He's outside of them. He has to be powerful exceedingly to be able to do that. He has to be infinitely powerful to set everything into motion. Sorry, what's that?
What brought him into existence?
See, you're asking me what exists before time. You're using time to ask me what exists before time. That question doesn't.
I'm genuinely not trying to entrap you at all. I'm trying to have a genuine conversation, but yes. I have to understand.
But you are thinking in terms of time and space and matter. I'm trying to help you to think outside of that.
I know what was before that. Don't worry, there's the empty. I understand that, but something had to bring the entity that you referred to as God into existence. And if he had that omnipotent power to do everything he chose to do, then that can't be challenged. But
if something brought God into existence, then God would no longer be God.
Exactly. Something was above him. You just said it exactly yourself perfectly.
See, God is outside. God is. That's the whole thing about it. God is. There was nothing before him. He is. He actually literally created time.
Time is conceptual, though. We can't create something that's conceptual.
Time and space and matter are conceptual?
Of course they are. It's like, I tell you that this is a second, this is a minute, this is an hour, but you have to believe that unless I can prove it otherwise. Time and that are conceptual. It's a belief.
Yes, but we are aware of it. We are aware of it. It impacts our decisions every day. It's
we created time.
It is something that exists.
How life moves.
It is something that exists, though. We can measure it.
Yeah, we created the measurement ourselves. We had to be able to accept how a day passes, how a week passes, so we gave it a measurement of time, just like distance and speed and everything. We said that this is a day, this is a minute, this is a second. We had to put that into perspective so our minds didn't break. We had to know what was a measurement of time. We created that. You can't say an entity said, I'm going to tell you what a day is, so you can be okay with that. We had to, in fact, there's the Gregorian calendar. We had to make up what a second was, what a minute was, what an hour was, what a day was, so that we did not, our minds didn't bend.
We have to.
It's like we stay at home for a month.
We have to observe what's already there, right?
Well, you're saying that it wasn't there before. You say there's nothing.
Well, in order for us to observe it, it has to be there. It has to be created already.
I'll be honest, I genuinely wish that there was something more than the science that I perceive, because it would be lovely. It would. It genuinely would. I'm not trying to disparage your beliefs or put you down or challenge them. I'm happy that you have something that makes you happy, but there will always be, like a coin, two sides, and one will believe and one will not. One will need proof. One will not care about proof. One will follow blindly. You know,
Yes, so why do you
it's a
follow
very
blindly these concepts that cannot be observed and call it science?
because yeah, because no, you have to be honest.
See,
No,
here's the
science is not
problem. Here's
science.
the whole
It's very
problem with the Big Bang. You have to have an origin for that.
mm-hmm.
And that
Which was the
origin is
expansion.
a huge problem. Number two is you cannot get living things from non-living things. You cannot get life from non-life. You don't talk to a lightning bolt or an energy or a pool of mud. A lightning bolt doesn't hit a pool of mud to begin life. Life never comes from non-life. It always comes from life. Life always replicates itself. And that life, again, like the building of the house, it doesn't just make itself. There has to be someone, there has to be intelligence behind it to put it together. And when you look at your own DNA and all of those things I was pointing out before, they all indicate intelligence, a designer, a creator behind it. That's who God is. It's as simple as that.
No, that's fair. You know,
You sound like a smart guy. Do you like to read books a lot?
I read all the time. I do all the time. Yes.
Have you ever heard of the book called One Heartbeat Away before?
No, the last book I read was it's a bit of a stupid book, but it was called Surrounded by Idiots.
Surrounded by Idiots, alright. If you have
Genuinely,
if you look up on Google One Heartbeat Away, Mark Cahill paid PDF, it's a really good book about some of the things that we were just talking about. I think you might like it.
can I ask a stupid question?
Wait a second, you just told me you read a book about surrounded by stupid people? So-
Mhm.
of course, yes.
Exactly. I know. I know
Yes.
it's a contradiction in terms.
Yes,
I know
yes,
that,
yes.
but
Okay,
I'm
okay.
gonna ask. I'm gonna ask a question
We all
now,
have stupid
but I
moments.
don't need to.
Go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Go on. Yeah, I'm not trying to be facetious or rude. I promise you, heart and soul.
Alright, go ahead.
But you just you just said about like Google and technology. So if you believe in the divine entity, in God and so on and so forth, how is it that you are like so accepting of technology that was created definitively by man without question? You're like, go on Google and Google this and look at this and look at that. If God is the definitive entity of everything, then why do you accept those that were made by man?
You're assuming that science has nothing to do with God, but if you research the origins of science, they come from the Western world. They come from the Christian worldview and philosophy. That's the whole purpose of where science came from. Have you read the history of science before?
Yeah, because Christianity originates from Africa, and that's where it first came from. Yes.
No, have you read about the history of science is what I'm asking you.
Not that book. No, if there's a book exactly titled like that, then no, I haven't.
If you if you if you read about the history of science, you might be delighted to find out about some of the different things that you may have not thought about before.
No, of course, I'm always open to other perceptions by all means. Yeah.
Anyway, what is the oh yes, yeah, that's the name of the book. If you can't find it, I'll give you my email and email it to you if you want me to email it to you. But it's a really good book. I think you really like it. You sound like a smart guy.
No, I'd definitely look into it by all means. I'm open-minded. I'll read it. Yeah. That sounds very interesting.
Do you watch YouTube at all?
Um, intermittently, yes, but I try to stay away from social media because it's corrupting.
Yeah, I understand that completely. There's a really interesting video. It's called let's see. Here's about the history of science. It's called God, Science, and Atheism by Dr. David Wood. I think you might like it. If you can find it
Definitely
on.
look into it by all means. Yes.
Anyway, well, that's all I got to say about that. But it's been good talking to you.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure speaking to you. I hope you all the best in the world.
Yeah, bro. Take care. Have a good night.
And you. See you later.
See ya.